All right, let's up the level here. Sort of like going to level 2. In the past, we factored trinomials that said x squared plus bx plus c. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new coefficient. On all the other ones, the lead coefficient was 1. And so now we're going to add a new one. We're going to use this so that we can start factoring using our vertical motion model. And we can, that lead term oftentimes is negative 16. And so now we're going to be able to use that and actually factor those equations down in order to solve them. Okay, so taking a look, this is the second time we're going through this. Factor a quadratic expression to reveal the zeros of the function it defines. We're just, like I said, upping the level of this. Okay, you did a really nice job on x squared plus bx plus c. So now we're going to do ax squared. Real quick, let's go ahead and what I want to do is I want to mess around with some possibilities here. So I want to put different numbers in across here and sort of watch what happens when we do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's put a 1 here, and we'll put a 1 here. Okay, and let's see what happens when I make this 2x plus 1 and x plus 5. And what I want to do is I want to look to see how it changes the middle term here. Okay, so if I'm going to, let's say I'm going to multiply this one out. Okay, so I've got 2x times 1x squared, so that gives me 2x squared, and I have 2x times 5, so that's going to be 10x, and then I'm going to have 1 times 1x, so that's 1x, and then I have 1 times 5, which is 5. Okay, so then that's going to come down to 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Okay, so I want to notice that. Okay, let's notice the lead term and the end term, and look how the middle term. Okay, so you should have that in your notes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to continue. I'm going to sort of rearrange this here. So let's do this. Let's see what happens if I take this 5 and let's put it here instead. Let's put it in this lead and in the same side, right? All I did was switch the 1, right? You're going to end up with the same factors. It's just the order of them is going to change a little bit. So let's go ahead and multiply this out again. So we got 2x squared, and I got 2x times 1, so I've got plus 2x, and then 5 times 1 is 5x plus 5 times 1 is 5. Now, if you notice, what happens here is my lead term, 2x squared, and then 7x, middle term, and then my end term are the same as that last one. Okay, it's the same one. The difference is the middle term, right? So the placement of where the 2 and the 5, where it goes, changes the middle term, right? So this is the 2 and the 5 are inside the same binomial, and I got a 7x, right, which was lower. Okay, then the other time when I did the 2 and the 5 were in opposite binomials, right? Because then what happens is if I put the 2 and the 5 inside the same binomial, I will never actually multiply the 2 times the 5. But if I put the 5 in the other binomial, now I am multiplying the 2 times the 5. And I'm going to end up with a larger middle term. And that's why the other one we had 2 times 5, right? So we had 10, and then we added the extra one. We got 11. Okay? So I just wanted the placement there is going to sort of change the way the middle term, even though the first term, if you notice the lead term and the end term, they stay the same, right? Both of those are 2x squared and 5. Okay, the middle term is what changed. All right, and so what I want you to do is see if you can discover sort of a pattern, how you can sort of use that middle term to determine, is the 5 going to be with the 2x, or is the 5 going to be on the other side there? Okay. All right, well, let's play around with this. All right, so now I've got 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. And so I want to factor this one, okay? Now, if I think about this, right, so first, this is a positive, so I know that I'm going to have, right, between my two binomials, I'm going to have negative and negative, okay? And what I'm looking for is I've got I'm going to have to take two factors here, right? 3 and, so my only factors here are 3 and 1, okay? And then I've got factors, though, for the first term. Okay, so now what I'm going to have is I'm going to have something x times something x, right? So I have 2 and 1 on the lead term. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to find some way of sort of playing with these, right? Playing with these and get a sum of 7. Okay, well, if you think about how we did this last time, right? If I look at this and I have, let's say, I'm going to have to take this 2 and I'm going to have to multiply it with one of these, And then I'm going to have to use this other one and multiply it with the other one of these. Okay, so one option would be 2 times 1 is 2. And then I'm going to have to do 1 times 3 is 3. And if I add those together, I get 5. That doesn't work here. If I do 2 times 3, I get 6. And then 1 times 1 is 1. 6 and 1 makes 7. So there's my answer. So what I need to do is I need 2, and I need to be able to multiply it by 3. So I need to do 2x. Okay, now if I put the 3 in here, I won't be multiplying it with the 2. So then I need to put the 3 on this side. And then this remaining term here is going to be 1x. And this other one is going to go here. Okay, and if I check this, I'm going to do 2x times 1x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Negative 1 times negative x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. Put it together and I get 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. And that works. Okay? Now let's just sort of go back here and let's just pretend we put it in the wrong place. Okay? So we did, let's say we looked at this and we said, oh yeah, 2 times 3 is 6, and then my remainder is 1 times 1, so that's going to be 1. So we'll do 2 minus 3 and then 1 minus 1. Okay? Common mistake we'll do. But once you check it, right, you're going to end up with 2x squared, and then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2x, and negative 3 times negative 1 is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. And this one, what you do is you get 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. Okay? And this, the middle term, right? Notice the first two, the beginning and end, are totally correct, but it's the middle term that's different. Okay, and it depends on the placement of your factors here. Okay, let's try another one. Here we've got 3x squared plus 14x minus 5. Okay, so let's list some of our factors here. We can do 1 and we can do 3. And on this one, we're going to have 5 and we're going to have 1. Okay. Now, this one's going to be a little tricky because this one, I have a negative 5, which means the difference, right? The difference between the middle term, right? Well, the difference between sort of the combination of factors here is 14. Okay? So, I'm going to say it's going to be something x, right? And then with something x, and 1 is going to be plus and 1 is going to be minus. Okay? And I'm going to get 5. Okay? Now, if you want, since this is only 1 and 3 and 5 and 1, what you could do is you could just plug them in and then start working from there. Okay, so you could say, because these two, right, these two are positive, so it doesn't really, this is not going to change. These you can't just plug anything in because it's going to, the minus and positive, the negative and positive here are going to determine, are going to matter. So let's just do this. We'll do 3x here and we'll do 1 here. Okay, now remember, I need a difference of 14. So, and it's a positive, so I know that the bigger, I'm going to have to get a positive big thing. I'm hoping you see 3 times 5 is 15, right? If I multiply the 3 and the 5, I'm going to get 15. And then if I have 1 and 1, I'm going to be left with 1. And the difference between 15 and 1 is 14 spaces. Okay, and I need the positive one to be I need the larger product to be a positive. So let's do this. So I need 3, okay, and I need the 15 to be positive. So I'm going to put my 5. Well, that's not going to work. So I need to switch this. And what I said earlier about this not mattering, actually it does. So we have to be careful about that, all right? So we're going to do, I need the positive 5 to be over here, which means the negative 1 needs to be here. So I'm going to do 3x times 1x. I get 3x squared. 3x times 5x is 15x. Negative 1 times x is minus 1x. Negative 1 times positive 5, negative 5. Okay, and we'll get 3x squared plus 14x minus 5. And it works. Okay? Don't expect to be good at this right away. This one definitely takes a lot of practice. Once you start, you sort of have to be able to start seeing the factor combinations in your head, or you can start doing charts. You can do, the book has a chart method that you can use if you want. I'm not really going to show that to you. I found that in the past when I try doing that with students, they oftentimes end up getting more confused. So if you want to go through and if what I'm doing right now isn't making sense to you and you want an alternate version, go ahead and try the chart version in the book. Okay, let's move on. So now we have a negative 4x squared plus 12x plus 7. Okay, well this is, I've got a lead coefficient of a negative 4. If you remember in the previous lesson, whenever I had the sort of that negative in the front, I like to sort of factor it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a negative, and then we'll do 4x squared. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opposite of everything. So negative 4x. The opposite of positive 12x is negative 12x, and the opposite of positive 7 is negative 7. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and list what kind of factors we have over here. Well, we could have 1 and 4, or we could have 2 and 2. And then with 7, it's nice because we only have 1 and we only have 7. Okay? So now, negative 7. So I'm looking for a difference, right? So I'm going to have to do some kind of multiplication combination where the difference between one product and the other is going to be 12 apart. Okay, so let's do this. We'll put a negative, and then we'll do x. And then we'll do x, and we'll start trying to fill this in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let's say, how are we going to do this? Let's see. Well, if we do 4 times 1, right, I'm going to get 4 times 1 is 4. And then if I did 1 times 7, I get 7. And the difference between 4 and 7 is only 3. Okay, so that's not going to work. Well, what if we do 4 times 7? That's 28. And then 1 times 1 is 1. 28 and 1 are 27 apart. That's not going to work. Let's try this. What about 2 and 7? That's 14. 2 and 1, that's 2. Those are 12 apart. Okay, so I need to do 2 and 7. So let's do 2x, and then I need to multiply by the 7, so I'm going to put the 7 on the other side. Remember, if I put the 7 in here, this 2 won't multiply with this piece. Okay, so then from here, let's let's fill in the other let's see. This is telling me that it's the negative is the bigger product is the negative. So 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 1 is positive, or 2. That's the smaller one, so I'm going to make 2 and negative 7, negative 14. 2 and positive 1 is going to be positive 2. So negative 14, positive 2. Add them together, I get negative 12. Okay, so final answer here. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's check it. So I'm going to keep the negative on the outside first. So then I got 2x squared, or 2x times 1x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 7 is negative 14x. 2 times x is positive 2x. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Okay, and then we can go ahead and combine these, and I've got 2x squared minus 12x minus 14. Oh, not 14. What am I talking about? What did I do wrong here? Oh, hopefully you caught it. You see what I did wrong? Put the 2 in the wrong place. And this will happen sometimes. I'm glad actually I didn't do that on purpose. So if you notice what happened is I put the 2 in the wrong place. I should have put the 2 here. And the reason I knew is because I ended up with 14, right? 2 times 7 is 14. That end term is not going to be 14. Okay, it's 7. So let's switch it. So I know that this needs to be 2, and then this needs to be 1. And I also didn't get 4x. Okay? So now let's try. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 7 is negative 14x. 1 times 2 is positive 2x. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. This seems a little bit more reasonable. Let's combine. So we get 4x squared minus 12x minus 7. Now let's redistribute our negative back in here. So I get negative 4x squared plus 12x plus 7. And that looks like the original one. So we're looking good. All right, your turn. You try both of those. Go. All right, first one. It's going to be negative, and then we'll do 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Okay, now this is a positive 3. Okay, so I'm looking for 2 of the same. This tells me that they're going to both be positive, so I'm going to get negative, and then it's going to be x plus, and then x plus. I'm looking for two factor, right? This is going to be 2 and 1. This is going to be 1 and 3. So let's see. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, so that means I don't want to multiply the 2 times the 3. So that means I need the 2 and the 3 to be inside the same binomial. Otherwise, if they're in the opposite ones, then I will multiply it. And then 1x and 1. Okay, and then let's check it. 2x squared. I get 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. It'll work. Okay, here, I'll multiply it out. So I get 2x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 3 negative. So I get 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Redistribute the negative. Negative 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 works. All right, this one, factor out a negative, so I get 3x squared plus x minus 2. All right, now what I'm looking for is one is positive, one is negative. They're only going to be one apart, so let's see, 1 and 3, 1 and 2. Those are my factors here. So let's see, I need negative, and we'll do x, and then x. Okay, so then let's see. Let's see if I do 3 times 2, that's 6. And then 1 times 1 is 1. And 6 and 1 are 5 apart. So that doesn't work. If this was a 5, it would work. So then if I do 3 times 1, that's 3. And 1 times 2 is 2. And those are 1 apart, so that works. Okay, so let's do 3x. All right. And I need the 2 to be in here with it, because I'm not multiplying them. And then this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 1. And I need to figure out which one is positive. So let's see. This is positive, so 3 times positive 1, and then 1 times negative 2. Let's check it. Negative, so 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 1 plus 3x. Negative 2 times 1, negative 2x. Negative 2 times 1, negative 2. Put it all together. 3x squared plus x minus 2. Redistribute the negative. Negative 3x squared minus x plus 2. Looks good. Okay, hopefully this made some sense and you'll have a better chance of doing it yourself. All right, see you soon.